Hello everyone, I am Rick Thomas with Daniel Berger. We're doing Life Over Coffee. This is like video number 31, 32 in our series. In all the videos that we have done. If you want to see those, please go to our website. You can watch all of the videos. We are now talking hours and hours of bringing a biblical perspective to real life problems that we all experience. Daniel has a lot to say. God has blessed him with a mind to be able to understand and the ability and the stamina to be able to put these things in print, in audio, in video, to be able to speak publicly as well. And so if you want to gather these videos, they are on our website, and I would just appeal to you to watch them, benefit from them, share them with others. The last several that we have done, we have been talking about, it all started several videos back where we were talking about Jordan Peterson and a public outworking of the suffering that he has gone through over the past few years, a medication addiction. And again, these are public statements and testimonies that he has given. We have put a link to one particular conversation that he had with an individual in all of these videos that we have been developing here, and you're welcome to watch that 90+ minute video of that conversation that he had. But as Daniel and I were talking about this, Daniel was commenting on how there's an irony here of how suffering is leading Jordan to try to find the answer to life's problems, and now he's looking into the world of Christology and bibliology. And the point that Daniel was making is this irony of how God can use suffering in a person's life to bring them to a better place in life. And so, Daniel, I want you to put some meat on that, specifically talking about Jordan Peterson's struggle. And so just give just a little brief intro of what happened and the medications that he was on and some of the effects and many of the things that we've actually talked about in some of the other videos on our website.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the video. You and I were talking off camera that he's attested to. He went through that condition akathisia, and
right.
And you know.
And by the way, I will because we talked about akathisia
right.
a while ago. I don't remember. But I do want to link that one in here because
we talked about it in suicidality and
yeah.
But he's gone through, unfortunately, a lot of suffering, and even took a hiatus from speaking. Still is suffering, and really trying to work through that. And having been through suffering and having a good book on suffering, that it does force us to think through life. Because when you go through not just physical pain but spiritual pain, you're questioning, is this worth it? Is what can I go forward after this? Or if it's continued pain, it's difficult. I know you go through your own health issues, and I myself have a autoimmune disease, whatever that is. There's clear biological problems. I've had surgeries, etc. And there's days you just feel horrible. But I don't really tell a lot of people that. I'm telling publicly now. But I don't want people to that's all they focus on. There's more to me that I want to
right.
serve them with, and but that's my choice. I'm not criticizing anyone. Peterson is in a position now where, interestingly enough, he was struggling with anxiety, like many people do, most people do, all people do, and he went to a psychiatrist, got a. This is my understanding from what he's
right.
said, and it may have just been his primary care physician. I'm not sure where he went, but anyway, he was diagnosed with some type of anxiety and given a benzo, which is known to cause. It's one of the most prominent causes of akathisia, and so he attests to that in the video you mentioned.
And akathisia is just the effect of what the drug does.
Right, especially during withdrawal. So when
Right.
he was going through withdrawal, that was the most severe that he went through. He even compared it to hell. And he's still going through physical problems. Many people do for months, if not years, and some never recover fully from it. So, but what's interesting is phenomenologically, he was fit into a disorder. Again, that was point number 4 in our previous videos we've done. Is it normal or abnormal? So there was that description. He said, this is what's going on in my soul. My wife has been diagnosed with cancer. So he was being empathetic with her and suffering with her as one flesh. And so they're going through this difficulty. He gets put into this psychiatric phenomenology. And what's fascinating, people don't realize this, the actual drugs themselves are phenomenological. So there is no, of all 4 classes of drugs, of psychotropic drugs or psychiatric drugs, there is no healing mechanism in any of them. And people don't realize this. And so if we can go back to the dichotomy of man, if we could do 4 squares and maybe we can get a chart and offer people, but there's in valid medicine, there's an organic problem. There's biological markers. We can go to a cancer cell and say, this is the problem. And then we have a medicine that actually addresses that problem. And in the process, it restores physical health to that person. Well, phenomenologically, our spiritual natures, the Bible says, affects our physical. So they're looking at the physical saying, well, that's a disease too. So if you go through trauma, it affects your nervous system. Well, then you have post-traumatic stress disorder. So that's a physical problem. Well, really, if you address this, if you find healing in your soul for what you went through, the body will recover. I know that personally. You know that personally. But because we're dying, our bodies are affected by everything that we think, that we feel, our behaviors, our patterns of behaviors. This is how God has made us. So what they're doing with the drugs is they're saying, these are phenomenological problems. You have depression, here's antidepressant. You have psychosis, here's antipsychotic. And what they're doing is they're actually admitting these are phenomenological. Even the labels are descriptive. They're not actually, that's not what the drug does. So on a actual physical level, there is no drug that actually restores health. Antidepressants actually are antagonists. They work by attacking healthy function, not by giving health. And so their justification is what they call the therapeutic effect. So if I can make you feel better, then the drug is worth it, in other words.
Right.
But the problem with that is there's so many things people do to feel better. We talked about grabbing a thing of Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I've counseled families where the husband was just so upset with his wife because when she gets down and out, she goes and buys things. Well, that actually fits into secular diagnosis of bipolar, because people are trying to get out of this sorrowful state. So you see how dangerous this descriptive system is, that if the authority says you fit into this category, then you fit.
Right.
And if you accept that framework, that phenomenology, now you're going to start seeing yourself as bipolar, when in fact the problem is dealing with that heart issue. So where he's at is he's now come to realize that the drug was not actually fixing any biological problem. It was just really suppressing the nervous system in order to not let him feel. That's what the drug does. It actually is a suppressant. And going through that crisis, he is now in a phenomenological state where he's questioning everything. And you know, I genuinely wish him the best. I mean, you know, nobody wants to see him in this state.
And he's giving credence to this idea of a dichotomy.
Right, that's right.
That there is,
yeah.
Okay, so I have this problem. I'm a materialist, and so all roads lead to a medication, whether in our world the problem is physical or spiritual. In their world,
Just material.
It's just material. And so it's not a physical problem, it's a spiritual problem.
And let me clarify, because they actually call this phenomenology, there's several terms for it: the medical model of mental disorders, the neo-Kreplinian, but the one they like the most is the biopsychosocial model. So they're admitting that your psyche, your soul,
right,
and relationships directly affect you. But they're attributing all that, and they call it the bio, starting with bio for a reason. And as I note in several of my books, they always take it back. So they'll say your psyche is your identity, your consciousness, your soul is all relevant to this. It's real, but your body's producing it.
Right. It fits within the body box.
Right.
Because
right.
There aren't two categories.
Right. It's a byproduct, or they're not any different. They would say the brain and the mind are the same. And so many Christians, it's and again, I'm not criticizing, it's just a reality. I've seen articles written on people say, oh, your brain deteriorates, that's what causes mental. We're not talking about the brain. Valid brain problems do not look like what we're calling mental illness. Those are phenomenological, and they're actually normal and natural, unfortunate realities after the fall. And so again, how we interpret all this, and so it goes back to our presuppositional faith. Jordan Peterson is questioning now his presuppositional faith, and we're seeing this recorded on camera. And I'm praying for him, number one, but I'm hopeful that God will allow me to speak into his life, because I do care. It's something that I don't. There's a couple people, and I won't mention names here, but God has really put on my heart to pray for, and he's one of them. I've never met, don't know. I haven't watched a lot of his videos, but this one in particular was no pun intended, phenomenal. So
yeah, and so they gave him a medication to counteract or to solve this psych problem, but from a materialistic worldview presupposition. It didn't work.
Right.
And so now this box is being deconstructed in his mind, and he's now giving credence to maybe we should separate this, and we have physical issues that we can deal with that are objective, but we have this spiritual side. And so now he's going back to studies that he has made in the past about the Bible and God, because he has studied thought about so many different things. But he's coming back here to say maybe there is something here, because this was so profound, this was so painful, traumatic. It's not working. There's something else. Now the point, as we started this video, is that suffering can lead to Christ, and it can lead to ultimately the solution.
That's right. And that's, if Jordan Peterson were to happen upon these videos, that is the prayer, and that's exactly what Christ says, is that you have to come to a place of brokenness. He saves the brokenhearted and the crushed in spirit. And that's where we all came to. We all came to a place of hopelessness, and that was the place that we could make Christ, or he could make us, his hope. And that's that's the ultimate, what we're really searching for here in our broken condition.
Yeah, and perhaps you are in that place. You have had phenomenon happen to you. You've gone through events, and you're looking for answers, and maybe those answers have proven not to be the solutions that the Bible offers. And if you need help, if you need to work through some of these things, we would love to guide you in any way that we can. But there is a solution, and that solution, as archaic as it sounds to the sophisticated mind, as simplistic as it sounds to the intellectual, it is what Paul talked about in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, that this is foolishness to the Greek mind. It is a stumbling block to the Jewish mind. But this is the wisdom and power of God. And the Bible does have the answers to the things that trouble us. And if you're looking for some help, if we can guide you in any way, please let us know. Thank you so much for watching the video.